I had to come right back because I'm like, if I don't do this now, I'm gonna say I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna get busy. And I do not like spirit breathing down my neck about getting this content out. So I'm gonna just be obedient and just film whenever and get offload, so that way I'm not offloading on my baby, y'all. So if you here, welcome. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So the Scorpio moon represents inheritance. I mean, excuse me, eighth house energy. Um, let me. I want to give y'all the direct details. Eighth house energy. Mm. Okay, so prosperity and success, magnet for wealth, encouraging ambition, success, challenges and intensity, relationships and family, balance, discipline, decor, best. What the hell is that? It suggests to focus on strong foundation. Astrology, eighth house energy is the house of transformation, intimacy, joint finances, inheritance, and deep psychological growth. And y'all, anyway, all that was happening, right? And I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, what's going on? Not to mention, like the day before that, I was sitting in the bathroom smoking like I always do. I always go somewhere and smoke to decompress. I got a temper. That's that Scorpio. Um, and I was talking to my daughter, and I literally seen a flash in the corner of my eye. And I'm looking over, and I normally when I look over, it's gone. But I look. Tell me why that motherfucker was still there. And I was so shook by it. I just said out loud, I was like, "Oh, it's still there." And my daughter was like, "What?" And so I was like, "Listen, um, I'm gonna just tell you so you don't think I'm crazy." I know, I'm already like weird, but I see something in here. I see an energy, and I'm gonna talk to it. So I'm warning you ahead of time because I don't want you to be scared. I want you to know what I'm doing. I want you to know I'm not crazy. And so I explained to her that I've been seeing like little flashes in the corner of my eye, and when I go to look at it, it's not there. And I said, and I remember she told me, when we were at my mom's house, um, one time she told me she sees a dark hooded figure just sitting in her corner. She was telling me that, and she was having nightmares at this time, but only at my mom's house. When we went to Vermont, whenever we would move and I would get when we would be in our own space, she would never see it. But whenever she was at my mom's house, that's what made me know something is a dark entity. And y'all want to know how y'all find them witches and warlocks in y'all family that's sitting up here pretending like they don't engage in black magic? They go to church every Sunday. Bring some fucking crystals in the house. Bring some because I remember one time I because my daughter kept telling me that, I bought some sage, and I was like, I gotta. My spirits was telling me I gotta clear the house. I didn't know anything about any of that, because I had just woke up. I didn't wake up until 2020 for real, but I always had gifts, and we'll go back into that. But I bought some sage and some candles, and my mom went off. She was like, "What are you doing with that?" What? I was like, "Damn, what?" I'm trying to get rid of the evil spirit. She was like, "No, don't bring that witchcraft shit in my house." I'm like, "Witchcraft?" I said, "Candles and sage? Sage is a damn herb. Candles, you got candles sitting right there. You got scented candles. This is a scented candle." "No, but it's one of them devil worshiping candles." Y'all, one thing that I'm noticing, look at the Trump administration. Look what's going on. How they accuse the Democrats of being pedophiles and all that shit, PDF files, and then coming to find out it was really them. That's the energy. Motherfuckers be calling they prayer, be going talking about they going in a prayer closet, and it really be an altar in that bitch, and your picture be on it. That was her spirit reacting to. And let me tell y'all, one time, by the time it got real bad and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, it was getting real dark and demonic. She would play like it's this dude, I don't know if y'all heard this pastor named Geno Jenkins or whatever. He is like way out there for me. But she would play him all loud all night. And I would go like maybe let's say 3 o'clock in the morning. I would go to the bathroom. She got a bathroom in her room. I walk past her. Why is she up, sitting just like this in a recliner, sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Towards the end, she couldn't even sleep at night. She couldn't even sleep at night, y'all. When I started calling my power back, when I started, okay, I won't bring these candles in here, but bitch, you can't control me. I'm grown. I'm gonna use the candles. I'm gonna go to the woods and I'm gonna use the candles to pray over my protection. I'll never do spell work on nobody, but I will cleanse my energy. You're not gonna tell me I'm not gonna cleanse my energy, and I will return to sender in a heartbeat. So, and I noticed the more I was doing that, she couldn't sleep. And one time I went to go take a shower, and there's like her room, a closet, and then the bathroom. And I just felt I was, getting taking stuff off, getting ready to jump in the shower, and I felt her staring at me. And the feeling I got was just like, hairs on the back of your neck when you like somebody breathing down your neck. That's what I felt. And I started singing, freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, turn me loose. Yeah, freedom, freedom, where are you? I need freedom too. I break chains all by myself. Don't let my freedom rot in hell. Hey, I'ma keep it running because the winner don't quit on themselves. I was just compelled to sing that shit over and over and over. And I felt her getting madder and madder and madder, y'all. I felt that energy. And that's how, like, Spirit was trying to confirm to me that this bitch is doing magic on me. And I remember I went to this, a lot of times when I try to look for confirmation outside myself, these psychics, they be fake as hell. They'll tell you a whole story. Sometimes I feed them information just to see, one, if they're going to take it, because any real psychic is going to be like, don't tell me nothing. I don't want it to interfere with the energy. I don't want to get it confused. I don't want to get it mixed up. So don't tell me anything. If they just sitting there writing down notes like, yeah, I know they're full of shit. One time I told this girl a whole story. She was like, yeah, I see an STD. And I'm like, that ain't even my fucking energy, boo. I haven't had intercourse in years. So, and y'all know I already told you I don't play when it come to that. So, I'm a germaphobe. They just be lying. But this lady, I asked her, I said, listen, I know for a fact my mom is doing some kind of work on me to keep me single alone. And I would notice, like, one time after she called herself, put me out or whatever, and I got that apartment, and that free apartment, and I got my car. My car was a 2019. This was 2020. Um, I came out my house. Weird shit would just happen. I came out my apartment one day, and there was like all this paint. Somebody had like vandalized my car basically, and I had to switch out the vehicle to put it in the shop, and I had to rent a car. They had nothing available but a minivan. I was like, oh, I remember one time I was craving. I was like, my next car gonna be a minivan. I really wanted a minivan for some reason. We know I was tripping. I wanted a minivan, so I rented this minivan, and I had went to go get my daughter from her house, and I was leaving, and she was staring at me from her car. And I turned around and looked. She was like, you got everything you need. All you missing is you just missing a husband. And I'm sitting there like, first of all, why did you just rent? Why are you thinking about that? That never even crossed my mind. And that disturbed me, y'all, because I'm going over and over this in my mind, like, why was she? So you was just sitting there like, damn, this bitch got everything. She just need let me go do some work. And shortly after that, things just fell apart, y'all. Anyway, God be trying to get whenever you get around somebody and everything just go to shit, because God will make it blatantly obvious that this person need to be removed from your energy, especially when you pray for peace and protection and you're a chosen one. God will find a way that God will force you to remove. And it's not good enough to just remove you from the situation. He wants you to understand why. Like, so that there's no second guessing or questioning. And it'll be so blatantly obvious. The people won't even be able to control themselves. The demon won't be able to be, they won't be able to silence the demon, and it'll come out. And they just have spontaneous utterances. And so yeah. So anyway, when I was looking into my ancestry, I found out um that I think I told y'all in the previous video, I'm 88% African, and I've been having contentions because I've been researching the true history, the true Israelites, and finding out that when they said y'all sold each other too, y'all Africans sold each other into slavery too. They're talking about two different groups of black people. And I'll leave it at that. Go do your research. But it was those Africans who sold us. And so I was like, I'm not the type of African. What the story that they told about the slave trade is all wrong. And it's backwards. What if they took us from here and shipped us over there and then shipped us back here for the transatlantic slave trade? What if we were already here when the motherfucking ships got over here? What if it was already indigenous black people here on this soil? And I'll leave it at that. So I saw where my in Africa. Let me sign in so I can just go over these results in case anybody's interested. So that's who that is in that thumbnail, along with Harriet Tubman. And we're gonna get into Harriet in a little bit too, because she's definitely important to the situation, to the story I'm trying to tell. And here we go. Can't log into my account, child. The powers that be really be against my ass. Um, so anyway, so it said what tribes I was from in Africa. Oh yeah, let me so it finally came up. So that guy and that's the picture that I got from Ancestry. That is my mom's grandfather. And so I remember my mom used to tell me that he was psychic. He was blind. She said one day he just went blind. You know, he was in the deep south of Virginia. We went to go visit my family's land where they lived, and I'm telling you, they lived in the sticks of Virginia. I didn't even know Virginia was like really the South like that, because it's like right there. Like being from Jersey, it's like right there. But no, that shit is the South. They had an outhouse. They didn't have indoor plumbing. We had to walk. We used to go when I was younger in the 90s. We used to all get all of us Northerners used to all get in the minivans, like rent like maybe 2 minivans, and we would drive down to see our family. I didn't realize the significance of that. But anyway, my DNA summary says I'm 26% West African, Benin and Togo. West African, Nigeria, 23%. 11% Central Africa, Western Bantu people. 8% West Africa, Ivory Coast, Ghana. 7% West Africa, Senegal. 7% Central Africa, Cameroon. 4% Western Europe, the Netherlands, 3% West Africa, Nigeria, and woodlands. 2% West Africa, Mali. 2% England, Devon, and Somerset. 1% West Africa, Central West Africa. 1% Southeast Asia, Northern, Central Philippines. 1% Western Europe, German, and Russia. 1% England, Cornwall. 1% Celtic and Gaelic Isle of Man. 1% Celtic and Gaelic Southern Wales. 1% Celtic and Gaelic Central Scotland and Northern Ireland. And so all that together makes a beautiful DNA pie chart. And so, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's cool. Um, and so it has a breakdown of where all these, and I thought the Philippines was interesting, and it made me think about this story that I had read where this white guy, he was a cop in like Illinois or somewhere, I don't remember, and he did his ancestry DNA and he found out he was 1% black. He said so he told his co-workers, he said during like Christmas, like when it was like what do you call that when you exchanging gifts, they gave him something for like Kwanzaa or something like that, like a kente cloth or something like that. And he said he went to his like workstation or something and he saw like a noose. He said he was being racially harassed because of his 1% black. Imagine if I go somewhere and I'll be like, I'm 1%. And he sued, y'all. He was suing for like 400 something thousand. I got to see if he won. I think he won, if I'm not mistaken. But y'all got to look at that story. It was so ridiculous. But imagine if I go somewhere like in the Philippines, like, yo, I'm 1%. Every struggle that y'all ever went through, I'm part of that. Give me my 1%. Like, what? Give me my check. I thought about that and I was cracking up. So anyway, back to the story. My grandfather, my mom's grandfather, he was blind. Preceding this, I told my mom, because my mom used to tell me certain stuff. My grandmother, I didn't we my mom made sure we grew up in a church, right? But I remember a time before when my mom would send us to church and she wouldn't go to church. She didn't come from that. My grandmother became a Jehovah's Witness after my grandfather left her for another woman, and she just didn't want to buy gifts for her kids. So she said she was a Jehovah's Witness. At least let my mom tell it. So my grandma, she's always been like, I remember learning about the Salem witch trials and stuff and how they got like burned at the stake for making chicken noodle soup. And I think about my grandmother. My grandmother is not very smart. Remember, I told you, I think she is like on the spectrum, or, she's not smart in the, you know, classical sense, but you can go to her with anything. Like my friends used to be like, can you get your grandma to sew this? My grandma used to cook her ass off. She used to make big, nice, fluffy biscuits. She's from the South, y'all. She just make big, fluffy biscuits. That's a home recipe, and then travel through my family for generations. I don't fucking know it. And my mom would never teach me. She had the opportunity. She didn't even want to teach me, y'all. My grandma tried to, but she was already old by that point. Because my mom is a fucking hater. She don't want anyway. She would do things that I just found witchy. Like we had our little taboos that we would follow, and I had no idea why. My grandma used to make onion soup. If I used to be, I was a hypochondriac, so I used to love my grandma. When it came time to, I used to be like, Grandma, I think I got worms. I used to research a new disease, and she would cook me up something. And if y'all know anything about the Salem witch trials, a lot of them they did just that. They got burned at the stakes for doing shit like making chicken noodle soup for people who had colds. Cause like, how you know this shit worked? How you know to put this chicken in this pot and then yeah, my grandma's from the backwoods of Virginia, and it never dawned on me. But she used to tell me things that that her mother used to do. First of all, we are the darkest in our family, and I will post a picture one day of my grandfather. He was very, very dark. The one who my grandmother married. Her mother was alleged to have some type of European in her. She had blue eyes, and she was supposedly light, to the point where all our other family members are light. But because my grandfather was so dark, we're the dark ones of the family. I never had a problem with that. But apparently, my mom said my grandmother's mother was mean as hell. First of all, she used to whoop my grandmother's ass when she was well into her 20s. My grandma is the last of 10 kids. Um, all her family, all her relatives are gone. She's still alive. I told y'all why I don't talk to my grandma, just a casualty. And plus, anyway, we'll discuss that in another video. Try not to make this too long. Um, my mom told me, yeah, my grandma was mean. She told my grandmother, either my grandmother or my mother herself, that they were too dark. She didn't like my mom's dad, because he was too dark. This is a black woman, y'all, who had blue eyes. And um anyway, y'all see this goiter on my neck? I get that from her. And that whole there's a it's called the goiter belt in medicine, where people who come from that heritage and that bloodline of the eastern coast, um they had goiter issues and thyroid issues. So yeah, I have a goiter. I literally was diagnosed. And I was like, well, are y'all going to do anything about it? And the doctor was like, no, a goiter is literally just a fat neck. And we'll get into that whole thing another time too. So anyway, so there's a lot of things that that carry on generations to skip generations. I got a goiter just like my great grandmother, and I used to have really bad cramps. It skipped my mom, but my grandmother used to have really bad cramps, and then it came to me, and now my daughter has them. So little stuff like that. But anyway, my mom would tell me stuff that her grandmother would do. For instance, she said one time, a neighbor, and my grandmother confirmed it. So I got to check with my mom because she a liar. Uh, my grandmother said it's true. She used to hang out with this lady, and the lady will always walk with her up to her door, and she would walk in. She would go inside, and the lady would be like, "Come on, Bryce, let me in." She was like, "Nope." She's like, you got to invite me in." Y'all seen the movie Sinners? Okay, that shit comes from somewhere. And the whole time I didn't know anything about hoodoo, witchcraft, none of that stuff, y'all. I just was like, that shit is off limits, because I believe in God. Like, I'm not participating in any of that. And you'll find that it's witches who really operate in secrecy, and they don't want you to know. They want to gauge. They'll be like, "Do you believe in this? Yeah, this shit bad." And they'll see your defenses, to see if they send you something, are you gonna know, and then are you gonna send that shit back? So the people who sent me shit before I woke up, they was shocked as fuck when I woke up and I realized what they was doing, and I returned that shit to sender, and it all came back at once. But anyway, family members, everybody, child, all was casualties of this holy war, spiritual war. So anyway, um, and I was like, "What you mean?" She had to ask me. She was like, "I don't know." I said, "Mom, your grandmother was a witch." I just said it like the words just came out of my mouth. I heard it so clear. I was like, "Your grandmother was a witch." I said, and I already told you, I think grandma is a witch. I used to laugh. I used to be like, "Grandma is a witch," because she always got an answer for something. She always know how to get in the kitchen and whip it up. I didn't know what I was saying at that point. But once I woke up and I was like, "Yeah, your mother was a witch." I told my grandma, I was like, "Do you think?" She was like, "Yeah, it's possible." And then I thought, what happened if it's a whole lineage of witchcraft that they just didn't tell me about, because they could see from my energy that I'm protected and covered by God? And they was like, "Well, let's use this witchcraft to steal her energy, steal her gifts." It's a couple instances. I told you about my sister and her joining the Marine Corps after I joined. I really feel like my mom was trying to take my gifts and give them to my sister. And how when I called my energy back, her entire Marine career, 12 years, came crumbling down the fucking tubes. It went down in flames. Anyway, um, yeah. And so when I was and let me bring it all to the Scorpio moon. One day I was watching, I was just scrolling and I saw this thing and it was like hoodoo and it was from the Try Guys, y'all. I think I talked about this in the other video, but it's relevant now. So I'm gonna talk about it. And he was saying, voodoo, and it just so happened that he is from Louisiana, where my folks is from on my dad's side. And my I have been channeling this. I've been channeling this name, and I used to get readings. And it's like, you got a grandmother, um, Jewel, something about jewelry, something. And I was like, I don't know, because I wasn't even close to my dad's peoples like that. I just remember, like I told you, I used to talk to her on the phone. But then again, Ancestry said she died in 1991. So who the hell was that I was talking to? Anyway, I I saw this video. Is about the Try Guys, and they were trying voodoo, and the guy was very knowledgeable. He was explaining how he got adopted into the voodoo culture, and how it's from his lineage, and it stemmed from Africa. And they brought it, and it followed wherever the Africans went on the slave trade, and it got incorporated and just renamed when it, for instance, went to South America, when it went to um, I think Portugal and different places, Santa Maria. Santa Marta. I don't want to, get anything mixed up. Um, but how it stemmed from Africa. And I was just reading about, learning about my ancestors from Africa. And my grandmother on my dad's side, I didn't even know. And then one day I just heard the name Ruby. And I'm like, Ruby, Ruby. And I thought about the reading where the girl said, you got a grandmother, I think it's something with Jewel. Why I just was called to look at my dad's obituary. And it turns out that his mother's name was Ruby. And I'm like, what if I come from two bloodlines of really strong ass, powerful kitchen witches or voodoo priestess? But anyway, back to the man. He was so knowledgeable, y'all. He was telling me how he was telling us how he got initiated when he was going through some things in his life because he was gay and he was black and he was in the South in Louisiana, and how he tried to kill. I think he tried to kill himself or he was going to, and there was a spiritual intervention and he found himself in voodoo and getting into that culture and the rituals and all that stuff. And he was like, voodoo has been given a bad name because of Christianity. And y'all already know how I feel about Christianity. How my ancestors was literally beat over the head with the damn Bible, and how they were worshiping other things before they were forced literally by threat of death to follow this religion. So y'all already know how I feel about that. But how Christianity demonized voodoo and how it is the ancestral practices from our ancestors that we inherited, and how that lineage was intentionally chopped short, and you were forced, they chop that off, take that, throw that out, and then insert my religion and force you to digest it and praise my whitewashed Jesus, who didn't even look like what, and they know he didn't look like that. So whoever you worshiping, you go to that church and you see that blonde haired man with them blue eyes, you're not worshiping Yeshua. That's not what the hell he looked like. And they know that. Anyway, they didn't want the slaves to read and write. So he said, even my pagan witches, we definitely, he was like, the slaves, definitely weren't even allowed to go to the hospital. He said, but even my pagan witches, my Wiccans, and they don't do harm. You might see them on a video like stabbing up a voodoo doll or doing something like that, but it's about earth in the elements and appreciating earth and the elements. And I already feel that. I already do that anyway. I already go and I will hug a tree. I will literally hug a tree and I will hear stuff. Not even going there. Anyway, oh, I forgot to talk about my experience in the bathroom. I gotta come back to that. It's too much stuff to talk about. Um and so he was saying you'll see a video of somebody taking a voodoo doll, stabbing it up, and you think it's out of anger. He said when they get angry, like the pagan witches and stuff, they don't do it to, send you negative energy. They do it to release the energy. He said, I'm a voodoo priest. You come to me, you say, cousin, I got a headache. The slaves couldn't go to the doctor. They weren't allowed to read and write. Remember that. He said, what I'm going to do is I'll make a doll that looks just like you. It's called a puppet. I will make it. I will make it just like you and shaped like you and look like you. And then I'll give you some lavender oil or, something. You say, I got a headache. I'm putting lavender oil on there. And then you leave and then you come back. When you come back, you're going to say, oh, diggle my doll that you made for me last time. I'm going to take the doll. And because I stabbed it in the head, I'm going to say, oh, I see I got this here. You had a headache. We worked on it last time. Do you still have it? If you still have it, I'm going to leave the pin in the head so I can know that's what we're working on when it comes to you. It was a freaking medical record, y'all. It was their medical record system because they couldn't read or write. It was against the law. My mind was completely blown by that. I was like, what? And you see how they tell you the story, but not the whole story, so you can't put the pieces together? Anyway, I was watching my girl Sloan Bella last night. I hate when people try to say she's a fake psychic because she is not. She is not. Um, she was talking about this guy who I never heard of before, who allegedly called the police on himself and said, "Yeah, I just got to go do this. I'm sorry. It got to be done. Whatever." Hung up the phone. The police goes into the middle of the street and shoots himself. Ends himself. She said it was very weird that he did this, and I won't go into it. Go watch Sloan Bella and what was his name? David Whitlock or something like that. But he was like a metaphysicist, and she said he was like a physicist, astrophysicist, and he talked about communication with aliens. He had been doing it. He has like a degree in physics, highly educated. Y'all know, if you know, all the scientists that's going missing and coming up dead right now. I'll leave it at that. She said when she look at his energy, she don't see that he killed himself. She see he did it, but she feel like his body was like hijacked by these entities, and they're not telling us. But imagine if they had a way to the government or whoever, billionaires with endless funds who just want to do shit. Like we literally saw Epstein was planning. If you have been following the Epstein stuff, you know he was looking into human cloning, trying to clone kids. For what reason? We ain't even got to go into that. Saying certain races and stuff taste better. Babies, look, we ain't going in there. But she said, what if they had a way? I'm not talking about like MK Ultra, where we know for a fact the government would have, they had these secret operations where they were literally trying to control the human mind. But she said, what if they figured out a way and just never said anything, where they can talk to you from another realm, astral realm, and just constantly tell you, kill yourself, end it all, end it all, end it all, and nothing you do, you can't stop the voices. She said this man was into like psychic stuff as well. Like I said, I don't know anything about him, but I know there are, just looking at the timing alone for the people who like to doubt, why are all these scientists coming up missing or dead? They just leaving their house all of a sudden and never coming back. And before this, I watched a video of this other uh, NASA scientist who was working on anti-gravity material. We're back to, we're talking about things that's hidden. What energy are we in? Scorpio moon. And this double moon energy this month, two different moons. Okay? What is Scorpio energy? Hidden energy is coming out. It's being forced to the surface. She was a NASA scientist, physicist working on technology that was anti gravity. She had been working for years. She was like a second generation NASA person because her family worked for NASA. In fact, her dad was a NASA scientist. He is still alive, by the way. Um, but she is not. She killed herself. She unalived herself. After years in her career, after all her education. Um, but they showed, the person who was talking about this showed a video. It's not my content. He showed a video of this same lady when she was alive talking about, oh, you didn't know about the P-52s. The P-52s are us plus 52,000 years. The aliens that have been coming, what if those are us? What if they're us from the future? Um, she said that there was this thing, or there was literally this thing. Look it up. Go Google it. It's called Operation Looking Glass, or Through the Looking Glass, or something like that, where high-level government entities got this technology from the Arcturians, from ancient alien civilizations, where they are now saying that could possibly be where how the pyramids got here, or who is responsible for the pyramids. I had already heard that on another ancient alien video. But in this device, they could look into it. It was like a piece of glass, and they could see different variations of outcomes of future events. And so they could tweak it. They could look at something and say, "Oh, okay, this is gonna happen, and we're gonna do this." Right? Um, she said all of a sudden, well, no, this is actual facts. We know this information because one of the scientists who was working on this came forward like a whistleblower and told, but the government obviously denied it. We could look into it and see that. And so they said that they were doing it up until when you got to the point of 2012, all the timelines converged. So they became one. So there was no, we can alter this outcome. The outcome, whatever the outcome of 2012 was, altered it to where they were no longer able to see the different variations of the future. Y'all, when did the Mayan calendar stop? Are y'all old enough to remember that? Because I remember in 2012, they actually made a movie about it called 2012 that predicted the end of the world because the Mayan calendar stopped on December 21st, 2012. I just told you what the psychic told me years ago about her seeing my ancestors and they weren't human. What if they were? What if, anyway, that lady ended herself. And so when Sloan was talking about this guy, she was saying she thinks he tapped into something that they were doing or they were able to do that the government didn't want known. So they used some technology, forced them to take itself out. Y'all, how many people just been jumping out of buildings lately? Isaac Cappy, she said it reminded her of Isaac Cappy. She said when she saw this guy, he was crossed out of his body. He was shocked, and so they took him and like worked on them like in the hospital. And I've heard that with people who have clinically been pronounced and they come back, they're able to be revived and resuscitated. And they say they felt like they were in this astral hospital being worked on by things that weren't human. Energy, light beams. And that brings me to disclosure day. We all waiting for the government to come out, all us intuitives, and be like, yeah, aliens been here. Though when that happened, we need to ask ourselves why. What's so pivotal? Oh, back to the P-52s before I forget. P-52s, P-56, whatever. It's just us plus that many thousand years. Um, they said some people went underground because of nuclear. I ain't gonna say the word because of a nuclear, you know what? B-O-B. Over Baghdad, that one. The people who were on the surface, the people who went underground, they came back on the surface looking like what we know aliens to look like. Which makes sense to me because y'all know whatever they do, they tell us about it. Because what's the number one show right now? My show? Fallout. Do y'all know Fallout? And when I was watching Fallout, I was like, I don't want to give it away. If you watch this and you watch Fallout, let me know in the comments so we can talk about it. Fallout. Along with the visions I posted on my page, I did not want to post it, where I literally saw the United States government sending them things on civilians. What if we go into civil and the government's answer is wipeout? So all this stuff that I have been researching, the Looking Glass, the P-52s, the Disclosure Day, and they actually got a movie coming out in June called Disclosure Day, by Steven Spielberg, Mr. E.T., right? Is that E.T.? Anyway, and I was all this. I'm sitting in the car and I was crying. Y'all. I'm like, I never had nobody that had my back. I never had a partner. I never been even asked by anybody to be their girlfriend. And I'm 37 with a kid. And I'm feeling sorry for myself. And I'm going off on my dad. Like, I ain't venerating you, nigga. And then Sloan brought up this guy. And I'm just like, what is going on, yo? You can feel the energy. You can feel the veil super thin. And I realized it's Scorpio moon, and I'm a Scorpio moon, y'all. So along with the overactive sex, how I started this off with the extra sexual energy that is normally not me, the looking into my ancestry, even for uncovering my ancestors. I found an ancestor, like I said in the last video, who fought in the Civil War. I always knew that. One time I was arguing with, with the racists online, how I do, and I'm like, Black Americans are literally the most American people on this planet. Try to argue with me. Every single war since this country has been came about, my family has fought in it, including me. So yeah, that's it. So it's the Scorpio energy that's making all this come to a head. The stuff with the family, the sexual energy, the ancestry results, people just crashing out. I crashed out on my dad spiritually. Um, and things are being revealed. The truth is being revealed, and I'm just sitting back and I'm waiting. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm a Scorpio moon, and I always neglect my moon. I always neglect my moon because um it was a Scorpio male who helped spirit usher me into my awakening. And so I don't even want to listen to readings about Scorpio and then his energy pop up, because I just want to leave that energy alone, never look back. So I be like trying not to listen, but I do have it in my chart. And so um and a very important part of my chart too. So yeah, disclosure day. Mark my words. Oh, before I go, let me finish the story about when I saw the thing in the corner. So I was telling my daughter, I'm like, yeah, I see it. She was like, what does it look like? I was like, at first it was just like little, like little glimpses of stuff from like a side eye part. And then when I looked at it, it didn't go away. It was there. It was like a, and she was like, and I told y'all, she was like, when I was seeing that hooded figure, and I'm like, but I think this one is good because if it wasn't, it wouldn't even be able to be in here. She was like, what you mean? I was like, negative, low vibrational energies don't have access to my energy. I said, remember how I was telling you, Jackie, that's what I call my mom. I don't even call her mom. I don't even call her grandma. Jackie, I told you, she told me she used to look in the mirror when she was like 13 and literally her face would distort into the face of a demon. Or the time I told you when we were living in a rehab with her in Florida, she woke up screaming and she had claw marks, y'all. I swear to God, God strike me down right now if I'm lying. She had claw marks all over her face, all over her chest. Everybody woke up and we were like, what's wrong? She was screaming. She was like, ah. I remember a couple years ago, my sister was like, remember that happened to mommy? And I didn't remember. All of a sudden that, recently that those memories have been flooding back. And I was telling my daughter about that story. I was like, yeah, remember I told you about that? I said, that would never happen to me because me, first of all, I'm a Gemini and my mom is a Sagittarius and Jackie is a Sagittarius. And you know anything about astrology, those are two opposing signs, which really mean they, out of all the people in the zodiac chart, those two are the ones who are going to clash because they're the most alike. But what I'm noticing with my mom and me is she is literally a darker version of me. Like physically, she's very dark skinned. And also she has the same gifts as me. She's dark empathic. Like she can look at you and tell you what your secrets are. I can't do that. I can look and see if you have energy that I need to avoid or energy that's welcoming or um sometimes I can. Sometimes I can look at somebody and I can just see evil intentions. um their aura is just nasty, and it'll come to me physically because I'm a physical empath, which helps me in my nursing career. I was about to say I was telling y'all, but it wasn't y'all. um One day I walked into my, by the end, when I was ready to get the fuck away from my mom and never see her again, from Jackie and never see her again, every time I would try to go into her house, I physically couldn't, because the pain, I would have so much pain in my womb. I would have like physically be doubled over. Sometimes I would throw up. And she thought I was just being an asshole. She used to be like, I used to sit in the car at one point and I used to have my daughter come in and out. And I know I should have had my daughter just never go in there again, but God made sure I got the message. But I would physically get sick. Or one time I walked into her house. This is when I was working and stuff, and she was watching my daughter. I was working at the hospital, the mental hospital. And I felt this sharp pain in my back where my kidneys are, because I'm a nurse. Um, I know that the back is kidneys. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, and I told you my mom and my grandma lived in the same house. And I walked in and I said, soon as I crossed the threshold, I was like, who in here got a kidney problem? Who in here whose kidneys is messed up? Somebody's kidneys is messed up. And my grandma was like, not me, I feel fine. And my mom was like, Jackie was like, it ain't me. Tell me why that was the injury that got her ass in the ICU. She had acute kidney injury because she stopped taking her damn diuretics. And so her heart and everything was just overloaded with fluid. But I felt that. I physically felt it when I was young. I used to stay bedridden. That's why I feel like looking back, I feel like my mom was working on my energy because there was nothing physiologically wrong with me. A lot of time I would be sick, that except for that one time when I really did have pneumonia. But one time, y'all, I swear to God, Lord, strike me down right now if I'm lying. I gotta say that because motherfuckers really do be lying on this internet. I don't have no reason to lie. I was so excited. We was living in Camden, New Jersey at this time, y'all. If y'all know anything about Camden, that shit is rough. So I was so excited when we got offered or afforded the trip to get on a bus and go to Washington D.C. to the White House. That would have been my first time at the White House. I maybe was in like the third or the fourth grade at this time. Child, the day of the, you already know I told you about my granny. She made sure my lunch was packed. I had hoagies, I had all these snacks. I was so ready. Child, why the morning of? Do y'all know my legs just did not work? I could not walk. I tried. I was so sad. I begged my grandma. I was like, please, can I go? She was like, how are you gonna go? One of my uncles or something had left some crutches there. I was like, please, I will use the crutches. She was like, nope. She would not. I mean, I could not walk that whole day. And this is how crazy my family is. My grandma never said, oh my God, let me take her to the hospital. I just couldn't walk. The next morning, I checked. I couldn't feel like below my waist. It was like I was literally paralyzed from the waist down. The next morning, can y'all please tell me why my legs were working perfectly fucking fine? I wiggle my toes. I pulled a blanket over and I wiggle my toes just to make sure my toes wiggle. I was able to get out of bed with no fucking problem, like it never happened. We never got down to the bottom of what the hell that was about. Just like I was like, Mom, remember you said I was in the hospital for 23 days with a brain infection? What the hell, 22, whatever, 20, whatever. What was that? I was like, I need to know because now I got a kid and I want to make sure. She was like, I don't know what it was. Because according to her, she had to have my uncle steal me out of the hospital because she was on crack and she didn't want them to know that I was on crack because she was on crack when I was in her stomach. And so she had my uncle steal me out of the hospital. I'm like, and the police never came to do a follow up. No, y'all, it was the fucking 80s. It just went on. Everything just went on with life. And we ended up, because we had moved from that city, but that's the city that I was born in. I ended up going back there, and we ended up being raised partially there. We moved around a lot too. Anyway, but in Jersey, except for that time we randomly moved to Florida. We ended up moving right back though. But yeah, so that's another thing. When I first woke up, I was hearing. I always been clairaudient. I always, when God wanted to tell me about somebody, I don't know if I told y'all about how I found out that my ex had and I don't even want to call my ex. That we was never in. That was no real relationship. Um, I found out that he had someone pregnant. He was lying because God kept whispering in my ear, "You probably got a bitch pregnant right now." I kept hearing it until I said it. That's like If you were clairaudient, you know what I'm talking about. When spirit say something, that's how I know. That's how I'm able to distinct my inner voice from spirit. Because when it's spirit, it'll keep saying it. I'll keep hearing it over and over and over again. Nothing will stop it until I say whatever it is out loud. Once I say it, it's over with. Once I said who kidneys in here is hurting because mine hurt, the pain stopped. And then like a week later, her ass was in the ICU for AKI. Um, so sometimes I'll say stuff and I'll be cringing on the inside, like, oh, how's this gonna sound? How's this gonna come out? They're gonna think I'm a fucking psycho. Not one time has it never resonated. Not one single time. I'm a vessel for spirit. That's what I keep trying to tell people. Geminis are literally God's mouthpiece. Gemini rules Mercury, mercurial energy. That's all communication. Um, so spirit will use us a lot of time. A lot of I got two older brothers who are on my mom's side who are Gemini, and a lot of us are telepathic. We hear shit, clairaudient, and see shit. Um, so yeah, it's this energy. It's bringing stuff out. It got me feeling some type of way, and I'm hoping I can use it to manifest like a love situation. Because I was always like, I'm not even gonna waste my time manifesting that. I'm too busy trying to manifest other shit. I was trying to manifest 100% on my exam. I got a damn 83. I was studying, y'all. I worked hard. I really was putting the energy, but that's because I didn't go hard. That's why like spirituality is so draining because yeah, I can manifest certain stuff, but manifesting takes energy. That's why so many energy vampires out here trying to steal from source, trying to steal light energy from us who hold a lot of, we're able to generate a lot of energy, hold a lot of energy. And so it's like they're mosquitoes and we're a big, fat ass, juicy, bloody human state. They want to come use us as a well and come dig up out of us whenever they need to be filled up. And so on one hand, I'm happy because I'm like, yeah, I'm so special to God. He won't even allow no bullshit. I never really had no, like when that girl was saying, yeah, STD, I'm like, bitch, what? You reading your energy. You read, that's not my energy, baby. I didn't say that. I won't never argue with him because I know as somebody who has a gift, sometimes the communication, we are the interpreter between the spiritual world and the physical world. So sometimes the communication the wires get crossed. Sometimes it doesn't, you don't translate everything, um, as it should be. And so hold on, because I'm checking. I got a life or a death. Um, I got a life or death study group I gotta go to today. Let me see. I gotta look at the time. Okay, it's not too. So yeah, that's it, y'all. That's what it is. I found out that everything is leading up to something. And oh, that's what I meant to say. So when I first woke up, I was praying like I feel like spirit was trying to sneakily introduce stuff in and like gauging to see how I can handle it for some weird reason. I'm like, God, open up my damn gifts. I'm not scared. I'm not scared anymore. I kept wanting to say that I'm not scared anymore, but the anymore I never understood. But I'm like, open the floodgates. I want to see shit. I want to spirits. I want to cousins, ancestors, bring them all in. Let me talk to their ass. I'm not scared of nothing. I know I got God on my side. I know I have nothing but pure intentions. And I know nothing evil will be able to reach me. So I'm not even worried. Bring us cinnamon, God. Child. When I saw that thing and I was telling my daughter and it didn't go away, and I started talking to it. I was like, who are you? And I could tell, I was like, only thing I could see, she was like, what does it look like? I was like, it just looked like a hooded. And I was trying to explain it to her. It's like I was looking at it and it was in a room, but the room was like almost invisible that they were in. We were in different rooms, but in the same spot. It was like they were looking at me from another dimension. They were just sitting in a corner like this, just watching me. And I could just see an outline really, but I couldn't see, like I could see it was male. It was masculine energy. And I was asking it questions and it didn't speak. And Laura was like, my daughter was like, well, if it's not speaking, it need to go. And I was like, trust me, if it get too. And another way I always know, and this is gonna sound so cliche, my daughter, she keeps the fan on. She one of them black people that need air. She doesn't like the heat. She can't tolerate it. Which is in stark contrast to me. I sleep with a blow dryer. I sleep with a I like the blow. I turn the blow dryer on underneath the covers. I like to feel that. I like to feel warm. I like to feel surrounded by warmth. I've been doing that since I was 10, since I was a kid. Um, and to the point where I get my daughter does it sometimes. Like if she has cramps or whatever, she knows that's how I had to figure out how to help myself. And that's what I mean when I say I'm a healer. And I'm wondering, and then I'm thinking about all them times I was sick, but not really, and the different little remedies that I was forced to learn. And when I woke up, when I had my spiritual awakening, when I saw God energy, first of all, I was scared as shit. But God knew it had to be something huge for me to believe it, because I've talked about this in another video. I don't believe shit if I can't see it. So God knew it had to be something drastic, and I saw it with my own eyes. So there was no going back. And my sister one time, she was like, "What did you see?" I can't even explain it to you. And that's what I mean. Like, imagine having a language that has knowing a language that you're just learning, but it hasn't even been solidified yet. Like, there are no texts on it. There are certain things that don't communicate. Certain things get lost in translation. Um, so I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, I'm like, what if that was so when I woke up and I was crying and I realized, you know, I had like maximum awareness of just things going on in life and around me and just in general. But the most important thing was I realized, yes, God is very fucking real. Like I got shook, like shivering. Um, And so I'm one, and the first thing I said was, "Oh my fucking god!" I was crying. I was already a nurse at this point. I had already graduated because I graduated nursing school in like 2018. Um, but I was crying. I was like, "I'm a healer," and I knew I didn't mean in the physical sense. For some reason, I can't explain to you how, but I just knew I meant to do what I've always been doing the whole time, but I didn't recognize it as spiritual work. I've always been a person, and that's why I felt so bad about doing it to my daughter. People would come to me with I would be like 11, right? And I would have like older cousins tell me their whole life story, right? And they would realize like an hour into it, like, wait a second, this whole time I've been talking to a fucking kid. How old are you? I was one of them people that people would just come, and that's good because I would walk on a job, and I remember I walked on a job one time, and this nurse that was in there was like, "Yeah, when I was in nursing school, somebody gave me syphilis." I was like, "What the hell? You don't say that. Like, not when you just met somebody 20 minutes ago. What the hell are you? What?" um, So anyway, I'm like, was this all a lead up to right now? Like, what if I've always meant to be a healer? Now that I'm woke up, I realized. So that all played a part into why I went back to school and why I'm pursuing my medical degrees or further in my medical education. But Sloan Bella, back to her, she was talking about how this guy was always, he always had gifts. He always had spiritual gifts. So he always had entities watching him, gang stalking him. Why the fuck we all know what gang stalking is, but we can't communicate it, but we can feel it. I remember when I was at my mom's, it was feeling so dark. Number one, I was physically getting sick. But number two, I always felt like it was something watching me. I always felt like it was an energy just watching me. Like I felt like it was somebody. And you know how when you're looking at a two-way mirror, you know in those movies when they got the interrogation room, um, I felt like it was a two-way mirror situation where I was being observed. And all this weird stuff, I was talking to my daughter about all the weird stuff that was happening around that time, how people were just literally coming out of the woodworks attacking me. Um, and I realized midway through that whole scenario that it was spiritual, but I didn't want to accuse anybody. I always felt like my mom and my sister was behind it because of the weirdest timing of every time I'm around these individuals, everything falls to shit. But I would never say that because I felt like I want to almost blasphemous, like you don't accuse your own family of doing some shit like that unless you got 100% solid evidence. Because we don't do that to each other, right? Family don't do that to each other, right? Wrong. Like I said, them be the same motherfuckers like, don't bring no candles in here, don't bring this, don't bring no gems in here, no gemstones. Whole time they got your ass, they got your picture on their altar in the space you ain't never seen. I was thinking like, what if mom, like even if that was the case, where would she do it at? Where would she do these rituals and these sacrifices and these practices at? What if she was doing it at the church that she go to where there ain't no fucking members at? And the pastor just randomly dropped dead. Like while I was going through my midst, while I was sending energy back to return the sender, he one of the motherfuckers that dropped dead. And I was wondering like, was he in on something with my mom? With Jackie? So anyway, y'all, I gotta get dressed because it's late. I've been rambling, but if you feel it, if you're like me, you're intuitive and you feeling the energies and the weird and it's strong as energy too, that's why. Because all of the moon energy and Scorpio moon, and especially if you're a Scorpio moon, yeah, that's what's up. Oh, before I go, that's what I gotta get out of here. But I was telling my daughter how I had a flashback of when I was in foster care and I used to constantly hear voices and I used to see shit that I did not want to see. It used to scare the shit out of me. I forgot about that, really. There's certain instances that I'll never forget that was like super supernatural that I can't forget. Like one time when after my mom came back from a funeral for one of my cousins who died of AIDS. He was like an older cousin. You know them cousins that's older than you, so you call him uncle because you want to be respectful. He died of AIDS. He was also a Jehovah's Witness, and she came home. I will never forget this. She came home. She took her stuff off. She was sad. She laid down in the bed and she was crying so hard. She was bawling her eyes out, and I was just trying to comfort her. I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. Y'all, why the phone rung? Lord, strike me down right now. My heart stop beating right now if I'm fucking lying. The phone rung, and this was the night because I was young. I had to be like maybe 4 or 5, maybe. I know my sister was alive, and I'm 2 years older than my sister, so I'll say I was 6 at the most, because I don't think I was in school yet. Like maybe like all day, like how I don't know. I was very young. But I will never forget this to this day. And the phone rang. My mom picked it up. She like, hello. I hear a man talking, right? And all I hear is, you know how when somebody is loud on the other end, it was loud static, but through the loud static, you could hear Jackie. And she was like, she sat up and she was like, what? And he was like, I couldn't really make out what he was saying, but I know I heard him say Jackie. I know I heard the static and I heard talking, but I couldn't really make it out. And I know my mom just tears just started, and she started shaking, and tears just started streaming out her eyes. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? And she was like, Coco and Gladys, do y'all hear me talking on this phone right now? And we was like, yeah, what you mean? She was like, y'all heard the phone ring, right? She still had the phone to her ear. We was like, yeah. So she go back on the phone and she not saying that. She just got her hand over her mouth. She like this. And I heard like, I love you. I'm okay. Um, and then the dial tone. The call lasted, I want to say like maybe no more than a minute, maybe a minute and a half tops. Um, and we was like, what's wrong? And she was like, Condell just called me on the phone and told me that he's okay. And I was like, you mean the one who funeral you just? She was like, yes. So you know how like when you remember details when you younger, you like that didn't really happen. There's no fucking way that really happened. I asked my mom, like, I asked Jackie, I want to say like maybe right when I around the time when I woke up. And I was like, you know what I remember, what I keep remembering? But I don't know if it was a dream or not. I was like, did Connell call? She was like, yes. Oh my God, you remember that? I was like, yes. How could I forget? That was real. She was like, yes. I was like, what happened? What did he say? What the hell? She told me, yeah, you right. I came from his funeral. He called me on the phone. I said, what did he say? I heard him talking, but I couldn't really. I heard him say he was okay. He loved you. I heard him say this is Connell. But I was young, so I didn't put that. She just went to go see his ass at the funeral. He was calling her. I didn't put it together. And she was like, yeah. So she told me, he was like, I love you. I let everybody know I'm all right. I'm okay. And yo. And I was scrolling on YouTube one day and I saw that dude from the guy who played the crackhead from Waiting to Excel, the man. He was talking about a real experience when his friend called him from hell. And it made me it brought that story to my forefront of my third eye again. I'm like, what? And then I started remembering shit like my grandma used to have a ghost that she used to talk to. His name was Charlie. And he used to steal her silverware. He used to steal from her. And I asked her, I was like, Grandma, did you used to have a? She was like, yes. He used to follow me everywhere to every new place I moved to. He would follow the family. I remember talking to Charlie when I was younger. And I remember telling my mom, I have an imaginary friend. And I told her, I was like, you know what it looked like? Y'all ever, any 80s babies in here, y'all ever seen Drop Dead Fred? That's the energy that it gave. And it would not stop talking to me. And I remember just wanting it to stop. Literally, I told my daughter, you know how when you have a flashback and you relive it? I went like this and I was like, I remember going like this and saying, God, please make it stop. And God must have really made that shit stop because I forgot about all that shit. Now I was scared when I was little, but now that I'm aware and I'm awoke and I'm knowledgeable. Bring it the fuck back. Bring it on, spirit, please. I want to see. I always been able to hear, but I want to see. I'm nosy. I told y'all I gotta see shit to believe it. But yes, he definitely called us. And I recounted that story in the comments. And there was so many people who had somebody from that was crossed over. And somebody even brought up something. They said, what if it's a frequency that these people are able to hook into where they can actually call you because of the frequency, because of the energy. Energy is neither energy is never something or destroyed. I can't remember. Let me see. What's that famous quote from who is it? Newton? Isaac Newton. Energy. Is it created or destroyed? Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but rather transformed or transferred. These motherfuckers, these philosophers, they were spiritual as fuck, and they were so ahead of their time. They was looking into shit that we couldn't even understand, and instead of us trying to understand it, we rather let the government beat us in the head with lies and throw us in prison and give us crack, because they was really on to something. What if they were able to tap into a frequency? And so that brings me back to this guy. She said she saw that he came upon something, and of course they got him to wipe himself out, and they went into wherever he was going to release it. They went into his thing, just like with Isaac Cappy. If you don't know about who Isaac Cappy is, look it up. To where he said to where it was reported that he forced himself off a bridge. She was like, I always found that funny. I found that weird. I find that shit weird too. What do you mean he forced himself off of a bridge? Either you want to kill yourself or you don't. And if you don't force your who what? And they be saying the Mandela effect. They be saying shit that just I never heard it described as forcing themselves to death in my life. Until now, until this weird ass time that we living in now. But what if they had been going back and forth from the past and the future this whole time, and we've been seeing them thinking that they're extraterrestrials, but it's really us? That's interesting to think about. She also said that they were doing something with his energy. I told you that they were praying over him, like laying hands over him in the astrals, praying over him. What if when we cross out of here, this body, we just move to a different energy? And what if the government and the intelligence agencies know that, and they're investing on keeping that shit a secret so they can use it to manipulate us? They like to try to force narratives in the media. That's one thing we need to pay attention to. Y'all only reporting the bad. Report this, or we're going to lock y'all up. No, we ain't going to lock y'all up. We're going to go and hijack your brain and make you kill yourself, and then your family's going to be like, oh, well. That's another thing that I found weird. The lady who was this astrophysicist who just randomly took herself out, who was talking about the P-52s, I told y'all her dad worked for NASA. Why he come out and say scientists kill themselves too? Somebody was in the comments like, y'all know they got threatened. Y'all know anybody in her family got threatened. I was like, there's no amount of fucking threat in me in the world to make me turn against my own daughter, to make me sabotage my daughter's name. If anything, you're going to have to kill both of our ass and then explain how we both wound up dead. The fact that he's alive and he's saying, no, ain't nobody do nothing to my daughter, and he worked for them. I said, this really is the last of days. People choosing their employers and their jobs over their fucking kids, allegedly. Because this the most YouTube watching ass bunch of people I ever seen. These right wing Republicans and these government agencies. I ain't never seen government this damn invested in regular ass people who do YouTube content. They done switched up the whole censoring program to keep you silent. They done restructured it to benefit them. So yeah. And it was a time when I was in time out in Vermont and I was just enjoying nature and just loving it. It's so beautiful. Like I'm gonna scream it to the rooftop. If you get a chance to visit Vermont, you need to do it. It's good for your soul. Um, but yeah, I was being called to learn about herbs. And I ordered a whole bunch of like different herbs so I can learn its medical practices. And I was writing down like what different things do. And I was just randomly called to make these medicine bags. That's not even in my spiritual religion, my practice, no nothing. And I saw that guy make one, the voodoo guy. He made one. And I was like, I did not know that was a fucking thing. I just did it because I was being called to from the ancestors for protection. I made like six. I scattered them around my house and then put them in my daughter's book bag and stuff. And then later on, I liked them so much they worked with protecting me from bad energy that I made a couple more, and I was gonna go on Etsy and sell them, and then all that stuff happened with my mom. So I think Spirit trying to get me to get back into that, to do my research, not only about physical medicine, but spiritual medicine as well. I think I'm supposed to be some type of shaman. And I told my daughter, I said, I used to wake up when I was like 4 or 5, running and screaming like, "Where am I? Where am I? Where am I?" I did this a couple times. I did it when I came back from Afghanistan. I told you because I was, for the first time, I was faced with my own mortality, and it did something to me existentially. I realized I was surrounded by fucking murders, and I started having dreams like um and I realized like one day I'm gonna die. So for like the first 3 years of my daughter's life, I told y'all she used to sleep with me in the bed. She used to be scared to sleep by herself. I would get up literally running like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. And the people around me be like, what? And I would go back to sleep. But it happened every night at one point. And that's why I have a medicinal marijuana for my PTSD and for other various physical ailments, but it's a herb, it's natural. It's of the earth and it's put here so us humans could figure out how to use it. And they want you to think that doing that, using the gifts that God put here for us, using it to heal us instead of sucking in all that toxic ass medicine that when I go and pull it from the machine, it tell me to put on gloves. I can't even touch the shit with my bare hands, but you ingesting it. But that's good. And the herbs that God put here for us is bad. You see what I mean? It's distorted, it's lies to keep you asleep and blind. So I'm gonna get back on my herbologist stuff and making these bags. And I don't want to commit to saying I won't sell them. But I was watching a reader. I really like her. I just newly started watching her because she said exactly what I was feeling. Like I don't like these readers and these people who are giving gifts allegedly, so they say. They say they're blessed with gifts and they use it for nothing but profit. And they be on here begging all fucking day. $5 for a reading, $10 for a reading, $15 for a reading. If you are really being directed and led by the Most High, you don't have to pimp yourself out, pimp your gifts out for money. You don't have to. Money just automatically comes to me. I was telling my daughter, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say before I end this live. I was telling my daughter about how I caught my mom and my sister talking about me. My sister um was she was stationed in Arkansas, and my mom lived in another city in the state that I lived in. I moved out, and she would not leave me alone. She would travel the 50 miles or however many miles to get to my house. But you can't stand me, right? You can't stand me, but you won't stop coming to my house. Oh, I come to see Booters, which is my daughter's nickname. Um. Anyway, one day, I used to be toxic, and I used to be all of us had used to be karmic, and I used to go on her phone to look at somebody's Facebook page because I didn't have this person as a friend, and I was looking, being nosy. Um, and someone was like, check the messages. And I was like, I told y'all, I don't like when I get led to do this because I'll literally hear it. It'll be a voice like, check the messages. And I'm like, I don't want to check her damn messages. She ain't got nothing in there that I need to see. It was like, check the messages. So I went to her Facebook message, and my sister, my mom was in there like, she don't got no furniture in here. She was talking about me like a dog. Mind you, I was working all the time at the prison. I'm a single mom with like a 3-year-old, no fucking help. And I was struggling. I was always broke. That's one thing I will say. When I was working in corrections, I never had money. All my money was just always gone. Right? And so I confronted them. I was like, why are y'all talking about me and you at my house? Like, why are you here? If this how you feel about my house, why are y'all talking about me not having no furniture? Do anybody got money to give me so I can go buy some furniture? But look how God worked. I already told y'all my daughter's dad is a fucking deadbeat. He never seen her. He never wanted to. He's just a piece of shit. And I pray he get his karma too, and he will, just like my dad got his, dying on his deathbed in the nursing home. When he got a wife and a son who lived, he took care of them all their life. They didn't take care of his ass in the end. His nurse was calling me, going off on me about why I wasn't there at his side. I was like, where's his wife? My baby grow up to be an exceptional human being. That's just his loss. But he would never be able to lie. You know how the men lie. They try to make it the mom fault after all these years, and nobody can go back and look. And the mom then already said, well, he didn't want nothing to do with you, baby. I'm sorry. Then it's, well, your mom wouldn't let me see you. Your mom. No, bitch. You knew, you got the DNA results without a shadow of a doubt that she was your daughter. You didn't want nothing to do with her. You told me to get an abortion. I told you. I tried. Sorry, she's coming. It's coming. And you still chose not to step up. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to be one of them people, because I didn't understand things. So when I was younger, when I used to get mad at my mom was abusive. She knows that. She admits it. She think I blame her for it, but no, that's one of the reasons why nothing hurts me really. Like, I'm grateful for that. Growing up in that type of environment. That's why when I start something, I don't stop. I complete it. That's why I realized I did 30 days in jail for some shit that I didn't even do. Oh, everybody, when I came back, it was like, oh my God, y'all be going through the craziest shit, and then you just be normal afterwards. I'm like, what I'm supposed to do? They're like, what happened there? Did anybody try you? I'm like, girl, please. Fuck no, ain't nobody tried me. And y'all know what she meant by try me. But anyway, I reached out. I was like, I don't want him to say that I didn't reach out and try to say, because one time they locked his ass up. I was working at the prison in my state, all the way across the country from where he was living at. They called me, the judge called me. They was like, Wilson, you got a call. I'm like, huh? I got a call. My daughter is in daycare. I'm thinking it's something bad, terrible like that. I never get a call while I'm at work, because everybody know when I'm working, I'm working. I get on the phone. They're like, yes, we have such and such here down at the courthouse. He was arrested for non-payment of child support. Did you get that last payment? He's saying that you already received it. I had the opportunity to lie. Well, I mean, who would lie to a judge? But at that time, I had no malice or ill will towards him. I just was like, it is what it is. This is the method that God used to bring my baby here, whatever. If I had to go through this sucker to get my baby, then it is what it is. I'm grateful. I was like, no, he sent it. He definitely sent it. And she was like, has he been involved? Is he? I was like, he's never met my daughter. And he instantly, I heard him in the background, like, she moved to college, making excuses. She moved to another state and I didn't, okay, whatever. So that was that. He got out of jail, whatever. Oh, let me go back. I don't know. I don't remember which one I should tell. So, long story short, after they was talking crap about me, I was praying to God. I was like, God, please, I need furniture, but I don't have any money. Blah blah blah. Do y'all know? Listen to me. Do y'all know? I was like near tears talking to my sergeant about it at the job. Something said, check your account. And I was like, check my account. I know I don't have no money in there. In fact, but when I went to work, I had to overdraft my account, I think, to get gas probably to get to work. Some said, check your account, kept saying it. Y'all, do y'all know I checked it and it was that was over $10,000 in there? Guess who went to go get brand new furniture for me and my daughter? And that's the type of stuff that been going on my whole life. I'll always get somebody try to bully me or pick on me or team up against me because they see my light and they can't handle it. Try to make me feel like the weird one, like those girls try to make me feel weird for being the only one who was a virgin because I was literally saving myself for marriage. I grew up. That's one thing Jackie did do. Like, no, don't do that until you're absolutely ready. And you better not do it in my damn house. I told you I was abused. I wasn't into that. I wasn't thinking about that. I was still literally picking up running from boys when they would try to talk to me. Like, I wasn't with none of that. And when I was in high school, they were like, my friends just be like, why are you running? Why did you run? And I'm like, I just used to get scared. So, yeah, that's what the negative energies will try to do. And most of us chosen chosen who are here on a mission, we're always alone. Every time I was crying about that too. That was part of the thing with the Scorpio thing. I'm like, every time I try to make a friend or even try, I always have to cut them off because they're jealous or in secret competition with me. Like, I don't want to. And I remember this girl recently. She was when you're doing nursing, you got to team up. You got to team up with people. And me and her was teamed up. We would bring each other the study guide to class, and we was cordial. We would not hang out outside of school, but we had each other's numbers. We would text and all that stuff. We was in the same class. We trying to do the same thing, but I'm already where you trying to go. She was like, I should just um take the LPN option. And I was like, well, then I'm just telling you, you're going to be right back in school like I am. If you want to do what you want to do. She wants to get into psych nursing. I've been doing psych nursing. And she was trying to tell me how one day she always tried to use neurodivergency as an excuse for why she do something that's inappropriate. But I don't like all that rah-rah. I don't like I remember I had this girl, she was a Virgo when when I grew up. She was jealous of me, but tried to convince me that I was jealous of her. When her energy was overwhelming, and I'm a Gemini, so I'm the life of the party for only so long, and then my Scorpio moon kick in, I guess, and I want to be left the fuck alone. I don't want to be around nobody, and I used to do that, especially when I was young and single. Oh my God, and didn't have no kids. What? I'll go in my house and cut my phone off and just sit butt ass naked on the couch watching ID Discovery. And she would literally be sitting outside my house. And this is when I was pregnant. I was moody. I didn't even tell nobody I was pregnant until I was 7.5 months. And that was because this same friend, I confided in her one time and told her something involving a guy, something that he did that could be seem salacious, or we did or whatever. And I made the worst mistake of telling her. And this guy, RIP, He's no longer with us. He was murdered when he was like 20 something, very young. And I felt so terrible because I was crying. Oh my God. I was crying about how I never got offered real love or nobody ever asked me to be their girlfriend. And that's a lie because this guy did. He wasn't my type physically, and I was into something with his friend. Leave it to everybody else. It wasn't nothing serious because I was still a virgin and I wasn't having. I guess to them that mean that you're in a relationship. If you don't do that, then you're not in a relationship. That's what they were saying. But his friend liked me. His friend was so sweet and so nice. His friend knew my brothers from when they were in jail together or whatever. He knew one of my brothers, and he was such a sweetheart. And he wanted to do something else, and I wasn't doing that. So I was like, let's do this. And it was just, he liked me, so he was with it, but he wasn't with whatever. Anyway, I told her, and she told everybody. And the people who she told didn't even give a fuck about her because they made it clear that she told me, and then she tried to lie. And I just whenever I leave somebody, I've given them 50 million chances. I won't even say nothing. I'll just peep, and then and mentally it'll be a tally mark. So by the time you reach your maximum amount, now it's only one time and I'm done. I don't have fucking time to be teaching and training people how to be humans. I'm already trying to raise my daughter to be a respectable young lady, and that's already taking a lot of energy out of me. I don't have time for that. She ain't raising myself still. I didn't even really have parents like that. So me and God are working together to help raise my inner child. And so a lot of these situations I'll be confronted with, so I'll have to revisit them. But yeah, and so I put that on the tally. That was one of the things. So by the time you come in and you outside my door and you're stalking me, you're doing circles around my apartment, and you're knocking on my door when I didn't tell you to come knock on my door, and I didn't tell you I was home, and you're saying, I know you home, your car is out there, and I'm in there quiet as hell, like I don't hear you because you overstepping your boundaries. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to ignore you. And I did that a couple times, and I guess she took that to heart one day, and she like popped up on me, and she was like, why are you not answering the phone? What? I was like, because I don't want to. She was like, you always been jealous of me. I was literally thrown for a fucking loop. That being jealous of her never crossed my fucking mind. My mom used to tell me that she was jealous of me. My mom used to be like, I don't like her, she's jealous, which is why I freaked out when I found out my mom took my daughter all the way across the country to her house without my knowledge. And I found that out through looking through the Facebook messages. And I was like, why would you take her to Jersey to see her? She was like, I didn't take her to see her. I just took her by her house. I was like, why? You didn't even like her when I was friends with her. I don't even talk to her. I haven't talked to her in like 5 years. Why would you do that? And why would you not tell me? And I told my sister about it. My sister was like, I don't think it was anything malice about it. I was like, well, what could it possibly have been? She was like, I think she just thought, your daughter was pretty and just wanted to. I was like, no, because why wouldn't she tell me? So that's just the little weird stuff that that Jackie would do. And I'm like, something is up with her. I'm like, are they all doing fucking spell work together? Are they all meeting up together? Because I could have swore you didn't like her. And the same thing with my sister. When me and her got into an argument, she was like, that's why I took all your friends and make them mine. I would make friends because I'm a Gemini. I'm a social butterfly. But they convinced me that I was mean and I had resting bitch face and people didn't approach me. When that was literally her energy. Kids hate her. My daughter hated her. She was like, Mommy, I don't like Auntie. She straight up was like, I don't like her. And people went out and she started to notice when I snatched my energy back, and she was literally forced out of the Marine Corps after 12 years because she lost her fucking mind. Because I feel like an entity she tried to send to me returned to send her on that ass. Now that I'm looking back, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know what none of that was about. But I remember by the time I left her energy, she couldn't even stand up straight. She'd be like, every time she would try to stand up, she would like, she would cower down and start crying. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? She was like, every time I try to stand up, I was like, what? Mind you, I'm a psych nurse. She started going to counseling. She said the counselor gave her medication. It was making her do that. I'm like, I never heard of that before. What? Anyway, Spirit did a lot to confirm that it was her because I just didn't want to believe it was her. But I'm like, are they all getting together on me or what's going on? It'd be people connected that I met individually that I didn't even know was connected until something like that happened with a guy who I think did spell work on my baby. He called me one time, and I had been dealing with him for years. He never seen my daughter. I never talked about my daughter with him. I just didn't feel. I just knew something. I just didn't. And he was like, your daughter got glasses, right? And I was like, no. He's like, your daughter don't got glasses. I was like, no. He was like, I thought I seen a picture. I was like, first of all, I never showed you no picture of my daughter, and I damn sure didn't show you no picture with my daughter wearing glasses because she don't wear glasses. Do y'all know my daughter's blind as a fucking bat right now? Like 1 year later, after he said that, my daughter was diagnosed with diabetes, in and out of the hospital. Oh no. She had the glasses before the diabetes. She did not have any issues with her vision until after he said that. That was the first time I ever. So, and then this girl that just showed up at my nursing school, and we lived in the same city. I told you I used to travel an hour and some change to get back and forth, and I teamed up and we carpooled. Um, Come to find out, she know him, and they know each other. I figured it out. I was snooping. That's why people be like, don't go through his phone. If you're not supposed to be with him, you're going to see what you need to see and you're going to move the fuck on. If you don't, you're going to get the karmic consequences that come with him because you already been warned. But you're going to get the warning. And I was going through friends and she was on there and I saw that they was real friends. And one day it made me think about this time when after me and him broke up and we called ourselves coming back together, he told me he slept with some Jamaican girl. She's Jamaican. Do y'all know that girl would come to Jackie's house to do my daughter's hair? I would pay her to do my daughter's hair. She was in nursing school with me in a different city. But when she asked to go out one time. I'm like, yeah. We went out to the club a couple times. Every time we would go, she would never let me in her house. She would always, if I was driving, and I thought about all this afterward. I've been knew that they knew each other, but I didn't say anything because I was like, let me see. The whole time I never let them know that I knew they knew each other because I was trying to see. One time I asked her, I was like, do you know him? And she said no, blatantly. But I had already seen that she had her fucking hands in my daughter's hair. And that's what I be talking about with these Jamaicans and these Africans. I'm not saying it's always them, but they quick to try to throw spell work on somebody. And y'all want to know something else? She had a boyfriend who was friends with that guy. Her boyfriend, I remember her. I told him, the guy, before I knew he knew her, because I had just started to school and I met her. We was carpooling, and one day she made me really uncomfortable. She made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. She was talking about this boyfriend that she lived with. I had seen her boyfriend around. He was like a DJ. She was much younger than me too. She was in her 20s and I was like she was like mid 20s and I'm early 30s. Wait, when I met her, I was like, I'll say I was like 29 when I first met her when I was going through nursing school. Um, and she was very early 20s. She had this boyfriend though, who I knew who he was. She went off on a tangent. She never used to talk. She used to ask me questions about myself. One question she asked was, "Do I believe in spell work and all that stuff?" Mm. Um, and I was like, "No, that's the one who I was talking about." Um, she used to ask me stuff. She used to always also. She used to be the first one. Like anytime I post on different social sites, she was a friend of me on there, and she would be the first one watching. I already told you about that with my sister. Not saying nothing, just watching. She would come up to me and be like, "Would you ever wear blue eyeshadow?" And I'm like, "What? No, I don't think black girls should wear blue eyeshadow, but that's just me. Why? Like, why are you asking me?" And then I later discovered it's because she was the one that with him and her was doing work on me. And I gave this bitch clothes. I had a bunch of clothes from Fashion Nova, and I was like, "Well, I'm moving out of my 20s. I want to upgrade my style to be a more mature style." So I told her, "Come over here. I got these dresses." I saw her wearing a dress that I gave her in like some Caribbean island with that guy, some mixed girl, and her boyfriend. They was on a double date with my fucking dress on that I gave her. And after I got into spirituality and all that, I'm like, I gave her my fucking clothes. You don't ever do that in spirituality. You don't ever give nobody your clothes. You don't ever let them play in your hair. And she did both. She played with my daughter's hair. He talking about your daughter wear glasses, and her ass is putting her fingers in my daughter's hair. Anyway, I gotta go, y'all. I've been on here for 2 hours. I gotta go. We'll meet again. It was a great conversation. Love y'all.